Hello everyone, I'm Leela Prabhugaonkar and we'll be starting with chapter 2nd of class 11th economics. Okay, so earlier we have seen the chapter number 2, that is Indian economy on the during the year 1950 1990. Okay, so we have learned about what has happened after the India got independence and how the Indian economy was developing. So we also saw the different types of economic system. Okay, we saw capitalist economy, socialist economy, mixed economy. Okay, then we have learned about what is a plan. Then we have seen the plan of Mahalanobis, the architect of Indian planning. Okay, then we have seen the different 5-year plans and what were their aim for the 5-year plan, like the modernization, self-reliance, growth, equity. Okay, these were the goals of the 5-year plans. Then we have also seen with regards to agriculture how the land reforms and all those took place. So we'll see with regards to under that we'll continue with this chapter. We'll continue with the green revolution. So at independence, so 75% of the population was dependent on agriculture, as the India is an agrarian economy, and most of the Indian people they they are dependent on agriculture. So productivity in those agriculture sector was very low because there was not a proper infrastructure in case of agriculture. They were not using any good technologies. Okay, then there was no proper irrigation facilities for the farmers, so all these problems were there. Then India's agriculture depends on the monsoon. Okay, and if the monsoon, if it is fell short, then the farmers, it was trouble for the farmers. Okay, because they were not having that much of irrigation facilities. Okay, then. So the stagnation in agriculture during the colonial rule was permanently broken by the Green Revolution. And this refers to the large increase in production of food grains resulting from the use of high yielding variety of seeds, especially for wheat and rice. So the use of these seeds required the use of fertilizer and pesticide in the correct quantities as well as regular supply of water. So the application of these inputs in correct proportion is vital. The farmers who could benefit from high yielding variety of seeds required reliable irrigation facilities as well as the financial resources to purchase fertilizer and pesticides. So during the first phase of that green revolution, like during the year we can say 1960s and 1970s, the use of high yielding variety of seeds was restricted to the more affluent states such as Punjab, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu. Then the use of high yielding variety of seeds, it benefited the wheat and wheat growing regions. Then during the second phase, that is we can say 1970s and 1980s, high yielding variety of technologies it spread to a large number of states. Okay, and that's why many states were benefited from this. So the spread of green revolution technology, it enabled India to achieve self-sufficiency in food grains. India was no longer they have to depend on America or any other nations to for food requirements. So here we can see that growth in agriculture output is important, but still it was not enough. Okay, so if a large proportion of this increase is consumed by the farmers themselves instead of sold in the market, then the output will not make much of difference to the whole economy. So, but on the other hand, a substantial amount of agricultural produce is sold in the market by the farmers. The higher output can make a difference to the economy. So the portion of agriculture produce which is sold in the market by the farmers is called as marketed surplus. So marketed surplus is nothing but whatever the farmers are producing, and if they are the portion is left out, then they can sell that particular thing in the market. That is called as marketed surplus. So here the another word very important, marketed surplus is. Okay, So a good proportion of rice and wheat produced during the Green Revolution period was sold by farmers in the market. So as a result, the price of food grain it declined relative to other items of consumption. So the low income groups who spent a large percentage of their income on food benefited from this decline in relative prices. And the Green Revolution enabled the government to procure a sufficient amount of food grains to build a stock which could be used in time of food shortages. So, while the nation had immensely benefited from the Green Revolution, the technology involved was not free from risk. So, one such risk was that it will increase the disparities between the small and big farmers. So, there will have been a large difference. Then, since only the big farmers could afford the required inputs, thereby reaping most of the benefit of the Green Revolution, the high yielding variety of crops were also more prone to attack by pests and the small farmers who had adopted this technology. So, they could have lose everything with the pest attack. So these fears were not came true because government they have provided a very they have provided a loan at a very low interest, okay, to small farmers, and also they have given subsidized fertilizers so that small farmers could also have access to the needed inputs. Since the small farmers could obtain the required inputs, the output on small farms equaled the output on large farms, okay. So as a result, the Green Revolution benefited the small as well as rich farmers. So the risks of small farmers being ruined when pests attacked their crops was considerably reduced by the services rendered by research institute established by the government. So these were the things what they have, has happened. So the debate over subsidies, the economic justification of subsidies in agriculture is at present it is a debated question. So it is generally agreed that it was necessary to use subsidies to provide an incentive for adoption of the new technologies by farmers. So any new technology will be looked upon as being risky by farmers. Then subsidies were therefore needed to encourage farmers to test the new technology. Some economists they believe that once the technology is found profitable and is widely adopted, subsidies should be phased out since their purpose has been served. Then it is meant to benefit the farmer, but the substantial amount of fertilizer subsidy also benefited the fertilizer industry. And among the farmers, the subsidy largely benefit the farmers in more prosperous region. So there was a question that whether to continue with the fertilizer subsidy or not. So on the other hand, some believe that government should continue with agricultural subsidies because farming in India continues to be a risky business. So most of the farmers they are very poor and they will not be able to afford the required inputs without subsidies. So eliminating subsidies will increase the inequality between rich and poor farmers, and this will violate the goal of equity. So these experts argue that if subsidies are largely benefiting the fertilizer industry and big farmers, the correct policy is not to abolish subsidies but to take steps to ensure that only the poor farmers enjoys the benefit. So by 1960, India's agricultural productivity had increased sufficiently to enable the country to be self-sufficient in food grains. So this is an achievement. So on the negative side, if we can see, country's population continued to employed in agriculture even in during the 1990. So economists have found that as a nation becomes more prosperous, the GDP contributed by agriculture as well as the proportion of population working in the sector declines considerably. So with the GDP's it contributed during the year 1950 and 1990, we can see that there is a decline in agriculture significantly, but not yeah. So why was such a large proportion of the population engaged in agriculture, although agricultural output could have grown with much less people working in the sector. Um, the thing is that the industrial sector and the service sector, they did not absorb the people working in the agricultural sector. So this was one of the economists, they call this as one of the failures during the policies they followed during year 1950 and 1990. Okay, next part will move to industry and trade. So industries, as we know, that they provide employment which is more stable than the employment in agriculture. So it promotes modernization and overall prosperity. So it is for this reason that the 5-year plan placed a lot of emphasis on industrial development. So we might have studied in the previous chapter that in the time of independence, the varieties of industries was very narrow and they were largely confined to cotton, textiles and jute industries. So and only there were two well-managed iron and steel firms, one in Jamshedpur and another one in Kolkata. So So investment in industrial ventures required for the so since if India needs to develop, investment in industrial ventures was very important. Okay, so it is principally for these reasons that the erstwhile government had to play an extensive role in promoting the industrial sector. Okay, so the decision to develop Indian economy on socialist line, this led to the policy of the government controlling the commanding heights of the economy. So, as the second 5-year plan put it, so this means that the government will have complete control of those industries that were vital for the economy. So, the policies of the private sector will have to be complementary to those of the public sector. So, we'll see the industrial policy resolution of 1956. So, in accordance with the goal of the state controlling the commanding heights of the economy, the Industrial Policy Resolution of 1956, this was adopted. And this resolution formed the basis of the second 5-year plan. The plan which tried to build the basis for a socialist pattern of society. This resolution classified industries into 3 categories. The first one, it comprised industries which will be exclusively owned by the government. Second, it consisted industries in which private sector could supplement the effort of the public sector. And the third category, it consists of the remaining industries which were to be in the private sector. So there was public and private sectors in Indian industrial development. So although there was a category of industries, although there was a category of industries left to the private sector, the sector was kept under state control through a system of licenses. So here a new industry was not allowed, okay, unless they get a license from the government. So this policy they used for promoting industry in backward regions. So and also it was very easier to obtain a license if the industrial unit was established in economically backward area. In addition to this, such units were given certain concessions such as tax benefit and electricity at a lower rates. So the purpose of this policy was to promote regional equality. So this is how they developed the industries in economically backward areas. So even an existing industry had to obtain a license for expanding output or for diversifying production. This was meant to ensure that the quantity of goods produced was not more than what the economy required. So license to expand production was given only if the government was convinced that the economy required a larger quantity of goods. Then small scale industry. In 1955, the Village and Small Scale Industries Committee, also called Carvey Committee, they noted the possibility of using a small scale industries for promoting rural development. A small scale industry is defined with reference to the maximum investment allowed on the asset of a unit, and this limit has changed over a period of time. Okay, so in 1950, a small scale industrial unit was one which invested a maximum rupees of 5 lakh. So at present, the maximum investment allowed is 1 crore. Then it is believed that small scale industries, they are more labor intensive industries as they uses more labor. So therefore here they generate more employment. But since they are very small and they use a labor, they cannot compete with the large firms. Okay, and it is obvious that development of small scale industry requires them to be shielded from the large firms. So for this purpose, the production of number of products was reserved for the small scale industry, and the criterion of reservation being the ability of these units to manufacture the goods. And since they were given concession and subsidies at a very, and also they were given bank loan at a very low rates. Okay, so till this much we'll say. Next we'll continue this for the next class, that is trade policy import substitution. Okay, thank you for watching my video.